For more, let's go to Khulud Khair, who joins me now from Nairobi. She's a managing partner at the policy firm Insight Strategy. So, Khulud, does this resignation merely solidify the military's grip on Sudan, or does it make it more vulnerable in the absence of a deal with a civilian leader and with emboldened protesters?
Well, arguably, the military was always in charge, and we saw that very clearly after the signing of the bilateral agreement between Burhan and the former Prime Minister Hamdok. And what this deal effectively did was expand the powers of the military through the Sovereign Council,
True.
and the powers of the prime minister dramatically. And this is one of the reasons why he had to resign. He was unable to exercise any power within the very limited executive space that he was given. And so for him, a resignation was the only possibility, because he was increasingly seen to be complicit in what the military was doing as it expanded its wings in trying to reconsolidate the Islamo-military regime.
So the way you see it then, does this do nothing in the planned or hoped for or purported path towards a return to a democracy or some form of a democracy?
Well, I think this idea of a transition now needs to be rethought. We're clearly back into revolution mode. Certainly, that's what pro-democracy forces on the streets see. We're very much back into sort of April of 2019, after the sort of around the time of the fall of the Bashir, when protesters were really pushing for a new political agreement and a new sort of setup that sees the military return to the barracks and leave economic and political life alone. I think this resignation does several things. I think it allows civilians to sort of come together. Previously some were saying, let's give Hamdok a chance to make this work. Others really saw that he had no way to make any decisions. And now everyone can be sort of united in calling for a new political dispensation. I think this resignation puts a lot of pressure on the military, because now they've lost the facade that they have some kind of civilian agreement or some kind of civilian partnership. Now it's very clear that they don't have that. They also very clearly and very deeply relied on Hamdok in order to bring back economic aid, both in terms of grants and loans, but also in terms of relief, debt relief. And that's obviously now all going to be very much hampered, if not completely gone. So for them, there's increased pressure to show that they can deliver. And there's increased pressure for them to show that they can provide dividends for those who signed the peace deal with them last year. Those rebels, of course, are the ones some of whom supported the coup. But in order to make that alliance stick, the generals will need money, which they're very much short of now.
Sure. And could you say that this resignation is something of a victory for those protesters, but not necessarily for the immediate future of Sudan?
I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Within the civilian sphere, there's been a very wide variation of responses to this. Some have, lauded the prime minister for his patience, for his attempts at trying to bring about some kind of peaceful civilian transition. Others have pinpointed to the fact that he was never able to use any leverage that he had effectively, and that he was never a true revolutionary. He was a bureaucrat who was unable to bring about the kind of conditions necessary. While, a greater number of people have looked at the sort of political landscape and seen that in actual fact, there is no space for any prime minister, Hamdok or otherwise, to be able to do so. And hence, no one is calling for a replacement to the prime minister, but rather a new deal altogether.
Got it. All right, Khulud Khair, thank you for your nuance on this.